Magic the Gathering just made a massive change to the standard format. Let's talk about what it means as a local game store owner. Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie, and I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. Today, I want to chat about this new Magic the Gathering standard format change, which is a massive thing. This is a big deal in the world of Magic the Gathering, a 1-year extension of the standard format. So previously, standard sets rotated about every 2 years, and now they are saying that they are going to skip the rotation this year. So this fall, we were supposed to have a rotation where a couple of the sets went out of legality in standard. They're going to skip that rotation, and now they're going to allow that to go for another year and extend everything to 3 years. And they cited in this a couple things, but the number one thing I felt like they cited was that they wanted to see an increase in play at the local game store, that they have felt that standard is basically dead at the local game store, and they think that this will solve that problem. So I thought today we could have a conversation, me, a local game store owner, and I can explain to you why I think that this is just bullcrap, why it's just not the way that things are going to work, and it just shows that they don't fully understand the issues at hand. Number one, I want to say I don't do standard at my store. We started our store kind of after the whole standard bubble had burst and most stores were kind of fading off of standard. So on Friday Night Magic, at my local game store, Game Grove, if you want to support gamegrove.gg, we do draft on Fridays and we do modern on Fridays. They both start at 7 p.m. People come in, they decide if they're playing draft or if they're playing modern, and we fire off. Last week we had 14 people for everybody was excited to do mystery booster draft, right? So the modern players ended up drafting. It's just fun. It's just like a mixture. Nobody plays standard locally in my store. But when I read this, I did consider some of the benefits of standard, because as a store owner, I do see where standard can be a huge benefit for both the consumer side as well as a store owner side. And number one, I think, is increased engagement in the new sets. If you think of like Aftermath as a player, if you only draft and if you only play Commander, your engagement in that set just isn't as deep. And I miss the days, maybe I'm just a Magic boomer, but I miss the days where I really engaged with a Magic the Gathering set, where I really knew just about every single card in the set because the cards were being played in standard and I was engaging with them and I was deck building and I was having fun with the set. I miss those days of deep engagement with the new standard sets. Today, you just don't have that as a result of there's like 10 Commander staples that you pick up that you add to your decks, and then you draft and you get to know the set a little bit, but you move on to the next set pretty quickly. And so I think like that engagement is something as a store that I would love my consumers to have, but also as a player, I would love to feel the set in that way again, like I did back in the day, with the old sets. I also think you have the changing meta, and we'll get back to this changing meta as being a pro. It's really good to have a meta that is diverse and really good to have a meta that changes frequently. It keeps people engaged in the format. Things don't get stale and boring. And a healthy standard does that, where things rotate out and it completely changes the meta. And maybe you don't like it. Actually, I never liked the rotating format idea because I didn't like to have to rebuild my decks. But I hear from a lot of people who are really engaged in Magic the Gathering that they love when rotation happens because it mixes up the format again. It makes it more fun to engage with. And then last thing, I think as a store owner, standard would be amazing if I could fire standard at the store because of the increased inclusion for new players. They don't have to get, like modern. It's hard for them to track down the cards. We can have modern staples at the store, but they're going to sell out pretty quick. And it's just hard to get enough for new players who come in to play modern. But standard, you have the new set. You just tell them, hey, go buy a box. You'll get a lot of the cards you need. And, they can trade. Most people have extra stuff from the newer sets. The inclusion for a new player is much easier in standard. And because of those three reasons, I think that is why the old standard format really did well for local game stores and why it was such a success at the local game store level. But now I want to tell you why I don't think that this revitalizes it. First of all, you've probably heard this from other content creators. Extending standard an extra year doesn't help the excitement of a rotating format and mixing up the meta. It kind of negates one of the pros of what standard is. And that's a really great point. But I think the real reason that this is not good for local game stores is that it doesn't solve the root issue. Local game stores didn't stop playing standard as a result of the format being too short. Local game stores stopped playing standard because of the competition of Arena. That the best way to play standard is no longer in your local game store. If you want an efficient way to play Magic the Gathering standard, if that's your thing, if you enjoy that, the efficient way to play Magic the Gathering standard is to go to Arena. It's just efficient. If you want camaraderie and if you want community and if you want the ability to gather together, this is why Commander has taken off so much at the local game store level, because you can't do it online. You can't have that same experience that you can have at your local game store. But Magic has made it so easy is a hard word. Magic has made it so much more efficient to play standard on Arena, and they have basically cut the LGS out of that model that it makes standard paper Magic just irrelevant in terms of a consumer. There's no advantage for you to have all these cards and whatever and build your decks and do all the things when you can just log on, copy a deck list, paste it into Arena, and pop some wild cards and spend some money there. I think that if Wizards of the Coast actually cared about paper Magic, if they actually believed that paper Magic was the way that they wanted to go and paper standard was important to them, I believe if they actually cared about that, they want to just expand standard, what they would actually do was be to reduce the competition to Arena. And now, first off, I get it. Comment section, I agree with you. This will never happen under the current Wizards of the Coast model. As long as the Hasbro corporate heads are at the helm and are calling the shots, this will never happen. But eventually, when they finally move on to their next company that they want to, take advantage of, they will allow somebody else to step in. Maybe somebody else can see what I think most local game stores see. That if you went with a model that is closer to Pokemon, where you have code cards in the packs, it would actually drive increased sales. It would drive increased demand for paper standard and cause more people to then go home after standard, use their code cards on Arena, and play Arena for longer. And then those, I hear this all the time in my store, those people would actually spend money on Arena because they'd buy skins, they'd buy all these things, as they buy more drafts, they would experience Arena more deeply as a result of having an easy onboard to that. So you put code cards in packs, and when you buy a pack for standard, when you buy a standard Magic pack at your game store, you also get one online in Arena. It's not really that complicated. And it drives this economy to the local game store first, to paper Magic first, and then expands from there, where if you want to play more efficiently, you now have a reason to also play in paper. And so I don't feel like this whole expansion of the 1 year thing is really going to excite anybody. In fact, you could make an argument to me that the expansion is going to make people less likely to play standard. Now, it's got some benefits too. If you were somebody who bought some Commander cards for the new standard, or for the new from the new standard sets, your longevity of your cards is, the prices are going to stay legal or more high longer, I guess, as a result of people who do play standard. But then you kind of get into, do people play enough standard and paper that it actually affects card prices anymore? I don't know. It's wild, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you believe that Wizards actually cares about paper Magic, or is this just some sort of way to get the community talking about something different as a result of other things that are going on? Let me know in the comment section below. Hopefully you have yourself a fantastic day. Be kind to the people around you, and we'll see you again next video.